be here listening to you guys. And it's Aki.
Aki, I'm sorry. Aki. Hi, Aki.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I'm fine. I'm just listening to you
I
guys.
just wanted to say hello. Okay, great. Okay. So, Rascal, let's me and you talk. Do you believe that your definition for free will, where you admittedly say it's a philosophical definition, may be different in other sciences and by other people, or is your definition correct and everybody else's definition is wrong?
Science doesn't give a definition of free will because it is a philosophical notion, right, about theory of self.
You went on mute. Pardon me. You went into the matrix or something. So it's a theory.
No.
That's what you just said. You just said it was a theory.
No.
That's what you said.
No. You mistake.
No. Replays are on. Okay, but maybe you want to take it back. So go ahead.
I didn't say no. What I said is it's not free will is not a scientific theory or notion.
Okay, go ahead.
That's what I said. Free will is not a scientific theory or notion. It has to do with like theory of mind, right, which comes from philosophy.
Theory of mind. So it is a theory. You've said it for the second time. It's a theory.
When I use the term theory, what do you think I mean when I say that?
What do you mean?
I'm asking you because
my answer is I don't know what you mean. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, it just means in this case, it just means concept.
Concept. Okay, fair enough. So you have a theory, aka a concept of free will. My understanding is that concepts and theories could be wrong. Do you agree with that?
Sure.
Stop. Can Steve feel?
Therefore, your definition of free will, because it's a concept and or a theory, may or may not be right. And Alfonso's definition of free will may or may not be right.
Okay, so how do we check that?
Would you agree with that? I'm talking to you. That's how we check it.
Okay, so why don't you look it up and find out?
Because I'm doing 5 other things. I can do it before the end of the show. I'm happy to look up on. In fact, tell you what. If one of my mods would do some. Hang on. If one of my mods would do some heavy lifting, look up the definition of free will, and let's find out. That's how we do it.
So, yeah. So what I found,
I'm using the definition from the SAP or the Oxford Dictionary of philosophy. Because if you use the regular dictionary, you're going to get what we call a colloquial definition.
This is why I asked you for your definition, and you told me to look it up.
I gave the definition like 4 times already. Do you want me to give the definition again?
Yes, and now I will listen to it.
Free will is the ability to make a choice that is not preceded by an antecedent cause or antecedent mental state.
I do remember you saying that.
Essentially, it means the choice is not based on anything else. It is arbitrary. I don't believe in free will for that reason. I don't think choices can be arbitrary. But to say, right, that like there are some things that we don't choose, and to say, well, free will doesn't exist because there's some things that we don't choose is not actually an argument against free will, because a determinist is going to say the same thing about choice.
Okay, and thank you for that, and we're clear there. Hang on, everybody. I want to go to Alfonso, but I want Alfonso to talk to me, and I don't want anybody to interrupt Alfonso because he's talking to me. Go ahead, Alfonso.
Thanks. And I just want to make clear that, the people that give me pushback in the chat, I know the whole community, and I've definitely lost patience with the people who, but it's just a matter of opinion at the end of the day.
And I love that part of the community because they're here. They could go, as long as they're respectful, they could talk bad about you, me, the nieces and nephews, but they're here for a reason. Go ahead, Alfonso.
Yeah, and then I don't think Rascal has been respectful. He's, they're accusing me of being passive aggressive and what have you. and disingenuous and lying. And I think most people.
Well, anybody
know
who
that.
interrupts 5 times in 90 seconds is definitely not respectful, but please continue.
Well, I think you're gonna get that criticism because you've just done that.
I'm the super mod. I can interrupt people anytime I want.
Yeah, I'm playing.
The same rules don't apply to me. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's fair because I'm going into Steve land when people come in
That's
and
right.
want to totally destroy me when I'm.
And when I go in, and when I go into Alfonso land and I interrupt Alfonso, Steve, this is my show. Wait, and he reminds me it's Alfonso land. Steve, shut up. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh my God, I'm the center of attention today in the chat. Anyway, so Robert Sapolsky, a renowned scientist, argues that free will doesn't exist. In his book Determined, the Science of Life Without Free Will, he explains
Sounds to
that
me like
our
Alfonso has no
thoughts,
point to
feelings, and
make and
actions
nothing intelligent to
are the
say.
result of complex interactions between our biology, environment, and experiences. Essentially, he believes that everything we do is mechanistically determined by these factors, leaving no room for free will. And then I looked for what difference there is between the philosophical definition and Sapolsky's, and this is what it says. The philosophical definition of free will generally refers to the capacity or ability to choose between different possible courses of action. It's closely linked to concepts like moral responsibility, praise, and culpability, which apply only to actions that are freely chosen. In contrast, Robert Sapolsky's view, grounded in neuroscience and biology,
Many laymen
suggests that our actions are determined by complex interactions between our biology, environment, and experience, leaving no room for free will. So while philosophy often emphasizes the capacity for autonomous decision-making, Sapolsky's perspective highlights the deterministic nature of human behavior. And that's pretty much it for me. I don't, unfortunately, I don't study philosophy as much as I probably should. You know,
everyone keeps using the word philosophy, but I've yet to hear a definition of philosophy. Many laymen have no idea that philosophy deals absolutely with God, or the universe,
just descriptive, and you can't gather anything else from science. I think you can. I think science can give us a lot of information, and you could call it philosophy of science. You can intervene with your own feelings and what society has to say in social sciences, and you can create a model, perhaps. But I'm mostly concerned, in great part because of my journey, in the fact that we can't really decide to not have a mental illness, to not have a defective neuroanatomy or a different neurodiverse brain. All these things are
when will you
biological,
accept your position?
electrochemical mechanisms that interact with the environment to drive us in the directions we go.
Stop with
And
the
I'll
lies.
rehash what I said earlier. We can talk about self-regulation and
When will
rather
you
a
accept
little
your
bit of
position
control.
in life and
People
stop
who,
with the lies of
as any one of us,
psychiatry?
have desires of shelter and
There are no
reproduction
chemical.
and all these other things. But at the end of the day, the people who achieve these things, grant them a little more free will, but I wouldn't use that word, right? I just say they have
The problem
a
is words.
self-regulating brain or the ability to control.
There are no
and
chemical or
postpone
physical
gratification
problems
so
with
they
you.
can achieve
Your
their
problem
goals.
is words.
But they are conditioned, right? They cannot decide one day out of freedom, but rather out of
There are
mechanistic
no
mechanisms
chemical or
to
physical
give
problems with
everything
you.
up and go to the
Your
Himalayas,
problem
right? That's
is
a
words.
very small percentage, and it implies lots of stress and other brain conditions. And so I'm mostly interested in what neuroscience and biology have to say about.
So the definition you gave is
Before we
literally the same
go back to
definition that I
Rascal,
gave.
before
Like,
we go
literally the
back
same
to
definition.
Rascal,
I just wanna
before
point
we
that
go
out.
back to Rascal, before we go
I
back
feel
to
vindicated. He just gave the definition he gave.
Okay, well then
Literally
good.
the
Then
same
go on mute.
definition
I'm
that I
glad you
gave.
feel vindicated.
Literally the
Go on
same.
mute. Go on mute. Thank you. We all heard it. Replays are on. before we go to James Corletta, and then I was going to go back to Rascal.
Vindicated. It's so funny. He's like, literally,
I know. You don't have to say it 5 times. You feel vindicated. I get it. You feel vindicated. That's great. Go on mute.
I
I'll
wonder
come
if
back.
he realizes what the definition that's.
I wonder if you can go on mute when asked politely 3
I
times.
moved him to the audience.
Fair enough.
To be too.
Yeah. Before we go to James Corletta, I'm on the internet. Okay? This is what, take it for what it's worth, because I sure as hell ain't no philosopher. Free will, the power of acting without the constraint of necessity or fate. The ability to act at one's own discretion. I didn't hear anything there about antecedent. Here's another definition. Free will is the capacity or ability to choose between different possible courses of action. Free will is closely linked to the concepts of moral responsibility, praise, culpability, and other judgments which apply only to actions that are freely chosen. Didn't hear anything about antecedent there. Last but not least, free will in philosophy. Free will in philosophy and science. The supposed power or capacity of humans to make decisions or perform actions independently of any prior event or state of the universe. That might be your antecedent there. James Corletta.
Yes, glad you referenced antecedent, and now you know what an antecedent is, right?
Yes, sir, and Rascal brought it up first. Got to give props where props are due.
May I ask you to please just give more space and not react so quickly when dialoguing with others? So, Rascal brought up the ability to make decisions regardless of an antecedent. And that humanistically is not possible because we are all born into this world in which we experience. And every experience we have is the antecedent that guides us in our choices we make. Therefore, we do not have quote unquote free will. That is the whole point Rascal was trying to make. And Alfonso agreed with it. And so that's why that's why Rascal was excited to
Religion is the
jump in and
cultural,
share. And I
linguistic,
really do
and ritual
hope that
practices of
sometimes you
philosophy.
could be a little more charitable
Philosophers
in
are learners and
conversations like
educators
this
of
and
God
allow
and the
a
wisdom of the
person to
universe.
dialogue in that nature.
Before you go, Alfonso, I feel compelled to respond. James, what you suggest that I do in the future is extremely difficult when somebody interrupts 5 times in 90 seconds after being asked politely multiple times to go on mute and you'll get your
Religion
turn.
is the cultural,
I understand
linguistic,
some
and ritual
people
practices
can
of philosophy.
do what you suggest.
Philosophers are
I
learners
know
and
my
educators
own
of God and the
limitations,
wisdom of the
and when
universe.
someone has a behavior like that, it's extremely hard for me to do, if not impossible, what you suggest. But thank you for the suggestion. Go ahead, Alfonso.
Yeah, so I don't think I said I disagree with his definition. I don't think I said that at all. All I was saying is he's bringing in, the philosophical jargon that I wasn't. I was just trying to convey an idea from the perspective that I understand, and I know we agree. And it's really frustrating to have people tell me in the chat that I hate Rascal, that I have this evil intention that I'm trying to do whatever to people. I think I've shown in general.
Rascal needs to learn meditation,
Mostly
breathing,
compassion
emotional
and
balance,
understanding, but it is true that when
conversational
Rascal comes in, when Victoria comes in, the people in the chat that are so adamant at demonizing me.
Hang on, no one demonized you. No one said you hate.
Hey, James, follow your own advice. Go on mute. Follow your own advice and go on mute.
And names were brought up.
Follow your own advice and go on mute. Thank you. Go ahead, Alfonso.
Yeah, so I'm going to read the exact quotes, right? Well, call it not demonizing, but, telling me that I hate people. The problem
James is a hypocrite.
Is that he talks so long and forgets his
Rascal
point.
isn't capable of having a polite conversation. James is a
So
hypocrite.
Alfonso agrees with Rascal totally. Alfonso is so full of hate for Rascal that he must oppose him. Rascal, well done. Right, Stephen. Neither Rascal and Alfonso believe in free will. Well said, Curly. So it's the usual, ganging up. And my understanding is that no one is demonizing you. Okay, call it whatever you want. It's
Benjamin, you
it's
can't
being
bring the
critical,
convo back
and I
on your
think it's
track
unwarranted.
desires.
In the beginning of this whole rivalry, hatred, whatever you want to call it, right? This overwhelming criticism comes because when we're in a room, I try to have a balanced conversation.
Religion is the
And balance
cultural,
to me
linguistic, and
means that
ritual
if you have
practices
5
of philosophy.
very angry,
Philosophers are
name-calling,
learners and educators of God, the
insulting
wisdom of the
atheists,
universe.
which is the majority of the people that we've engaged with this morning here, I do take the side of the spiritual person or the person who doesn't speak English very well, and that to me is the final word when it comes to moderating rooms. At the end of the day, you can have your opinion, but I think what we're doing now is the moderator decides
Everyone keeps
how to
using
run
the
the
word
room. The
philosophy,
rules
but I've yet to hear a
are
definition of
more or
philosophy.
less don't break the
Many
law.
laymen have
And
no
if
idea
you
that
feel like you're
philosophy
being
deals
treated
absolutely
unjustly
with
or
God,
hated
the
or
universe.
you're so
As your
sensitive
atheists.
about this, don't show up. I'm very happy to have a conversation with 2, 3 theists, non-theists, Muslims, whoever comes into the room. But this, tribalistic thing becomes an obstacle to moderating conversations.
Before we go to Ness and Mike, I just want to say I completely disagree with Alfonso, but I respect him. I like the other tribe coming in. I have no problem whatsoever with them staying in the audience, making their comments as long as they're respectful with no personal attacks. And why is that? Because your Uncle Steve is a ratings whore. That being said, let's go to Ness.
Wait.
No, you have to wait. Don't interrupt. You have to wait, but I will come to you. You have to wait. Follow your own advice and wait. No. Please wait. Please go on mute.
How
Here
did
you
you?
go.
How
When a
did you
room becomes
make
heated
that
and
sound?
angry, patient speakers
Ness, I
scream
was
and
just
get
going
pissed.
to go
That's the
to you.
point.
Good morning, Ness.
To learn
Welcome to
English.
Ask the Atheist. I make that sound because I have an audio
Oh, so
interface.
happy.
Hi. Some
Hello?
people
The
refer to it as a
biggest-
soundboard. I
biggest-
have a soundboard.
biggest
Yes, that's how I make
hypocrites.
the sound. Is there anything else you wanted to say, or did you just want to ask me how I make the sound?
So happy hearing the
I
biggest
just want to know how did
hypocrites
you
today.
make this sound?
I just told you I have an audio interface which people refer to as a soundboard. Look, I can give you a standing ovation.
Okay, thank you.
I can cash register. Hold on. I can cash register you. I can give you a drum beat. And last but not least, I can give you a wah wah wah. I can also do a whole bunch of other stuff. Does that answer your question? Ness. Ness going once. Ness going twice. Well, I guess you just... Yes, Ness.
Yeah. What did you ask me? I was not here.
I asked you, what would you like to talk about?
I just want to know, is this like reverse group or what?
No, this is not a reverse group. I'll tell you exactly what this is. I've been doing this for 4 years. Although the show is always called Ask the Atheist, we talk about anything that you want to talk about. People are encouraged to come up. They can talk about God, they can talk about religion, but they don't have to. They can talk about politics, they can talk about current events, they can talk about Clubhouse, they can even talk about me. I discourage, though, most people from talking about other people in the room, and if they feel compelled to do so, I just ask them to refer most of the time as a prior speaker. Although if you have an issue with the mods, you can always call the mods by their names. And me, Uncle Steve, I want you to talk about me a lot. I want you to go into all the other rooms on Clubhouse, and if you say anything, say I was just in Uncle Steve's room. That's what the room's about.
Can I ask something? Is there?
Yes, that's why it's called Ask Uncle Steve. Please, Ask the Atheist. Please do.
I just want to know: is there any Muslim Americans in here?
Yes, the answer is yes.
Yeah. So please add me.
All right. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
That's all. Thank you.
You're welcome. James Corletta will get to you after the new speakers. Mike, it's a pleasure to see you back on the show. What would you like to talk about?
Well, just looking at what you got up here in the nest, compatibility between scientific and religious beliefs.
Yes.
They are in fact compatible
I agree.
if you understand how to categorize them. So, and contextualize them. So basically, if you take an academic mindset, there's a rough process for organizing academic
Angry man.
knowledge of the world.
Because you are an
We call
angry
it
man.
reductionism. Let me give you a very brief intro of reductionism.
Sure.
Reductionism is the idea that there's a hierarchy that can be used to define things. Let me just go through one simple iteration.
As long as it takes less than 4 minutes, you can talk about whatever you want.
Much less. But basically, philosophy defines mathematics. Mathematics defines physics. Physics defines chemistry.
Okay, Ness, you have to. Okay, let me do a housekeeping issue. Let me do a housekeeping issue. Hold on. Ness, you have to stay on mute. We can come back to you if you want to talk, but you have to stay on mute until we come back to you. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay.
Let's restart here. So, philosophy defines mathematics. Mathematics defines physics. Physics defines chemistry. Chemistry defines biology. Biology defines psychology. And then sociology on from there. So
Beautiful.
basically, if you want to categorize religious ideas, they go either under psychology or
Beautiful,
under
sir.
philosophy. And basically, they fit nicely in those areas. One thing to note about science is a closed world hypothesis type of understanding that is very narrow and specific. And, it's understood that science simply can't explain everything. That, it can explain things that can be observed, experiments that can be reproduced, things that can be measured. But beyond that, science doesn't really help you.
Well, thank you, Mike. Are you good, or is there something else you wanted to say?
Well, that's basically how I see it, so I'm good.
All right. James Corletta.
Can I just,
Hold on, no. John, take everybody go on mute. We're going to go to James Corletta because I know he's chomping at the bit. I'm going to give him a fresh 5 and hang on.
I asked earlier.
I asked you please to go on mute. Please. Thank you. We'll go to James Corletta in a moment.
What is not
John,
the study
take
of
notes.
life,
I knew
is the
you were going
study
to want to
of
respond.
by,
But
dual
James has
knowledge,
been
or
waiting
again God,
patiently.
or the
James
Tao.
Corletta, I'm going to give you a fresh 5, and per your request, nobody, including me, interrupt James Corletta. Go ahead.
That's a bit extreme. I don't need a fresh fucking 5, god damn it. I just wanted the respect in order for me to allow to
Wanted his
respond
respect.
to the dialogue that I was having with both you and Alfonso, and you told me to hold on. And now it diverged into new conversation topic, and now you think it's necessary
Ego
to have a
angry.
fresh
Wanted
fucking 5.
respect.
That's extreme. All I needed to do was ask
respect.
Alfonso, do you think it would be possible that you could have had a dialogue with Rascal? That was
Life
it. And
is
I
not
think it could have
biology.
been possible to put the past behind you and take the conversation for face value. Rascal
No,
was not
life is not
attacking,
biology.
not making any negative comments, and just having
Life
a
is
fruitful,
now.
productive conversation and asking good questions. Thank you very much, Steve.
You're welcome. I'm going to respond to that, and then I'll let Alfonso respond if he wants to. The answer to your question is absolutely not. It's perfectly clear to me that Alfonso has had multiple conversations with Rascal, and it's
Apologies
also
not to
clear to
study
me
for
that
life.
when
It's
it
the
comes
study
to
of
free will,
by dual
the two
knowledge
of
of
them
again God
have
of the
not
die.
come to a common
Ego
consensus.
angry
So
one
my
respect.
answer to your question would be no. However, your question was directed at Alfonso, so he can answer if he wants.
Yeah. Most of what you said is accurate. And it's not the interactions he's had with me that have been unpleasant. It's been with the other speakers in my room. And that's a general comment to, many of the people who are commenting on the chat and who come in. And, I've tried to give them a chance, but then I invite a spiritual Hindu, a Muslim to speak, and they speak for 5 or even more minutes. And I'm taking mental notes and listening and understanding where they're coming from.
All is
But
God.
it seems like
Or
culturally,
science. Or psychology.
even in writing, when you write prose in English versus in Spanish, you can write very long sentences in Spanish. In English, they're very concise, right? So there's a cultural barrier there, partially. And another part of the equation is the patience. I think
All
I
is
can
God.
sit
Or
and
science. Or
listen
psychology.
and
Or
understand
philosophy. Or
and
knowledge.
spend a lot
biology,
of time
chemistry,
with one
physics.
person or two
All
people,
is God.
trying to know and gather where they're coming from. And I haven't had that experience with many of the people in this room who are, drilling me with criticism. They have lost their marbles. They've insulted people. They've called them disingenuous and liars. And I haven't seen that, right? So it's partially
Rascal
probably
is
a
not
matter
a
of
polite
opinion.
speaker or listener.
Maybe they were being disingenuous, and I'm very, what's the word? Naive, and I give people too much credit. But from my studies, from whatever the limited studies I have of neuroscience and human behavior and my own experiences, I think people are usually like I did now, right? I didn't have a. I don't hate Rascal, and I wasn't being what's the word they used? Dishonest. I was being completely honest and sincere with what I was saying.
Meditation is going within the self with a parallel
I don't feel
exercise
comfortable
or art
with many
to
of
God.
these people who go into heated arguments about atheism and theism, because my approach is different, my culture is different, and so I moderate the rooms in a different manner, and I know they get triggered and they feel entitled because of whatever, they speak the language
Meditation
so well,
is
they
going
know
within the
their
self with a parallel
philosophical
exercise
jargon,
or
and
art
they
listening
have
to
this
God.
atheist versus theist culture in which
Anger
if someone
is the
doesn't fit
problem.
or doesn't speak the lingo, they get
Being
ganged
here
up on.
now
And this is not an unfair assessment. It's happened on countless occasions that people gang up and drill
Anger is the
someone
problem.
just
Being here
partially
now
because they have an accent and they
is the
can't
point.
understand. Like, what is this? Just fruit, word salad, and BS. Or a very spiritual person comes into the room. They start. It's very poetic, and they talk about their connection and their experience. And they're like, oh, this is just bullshit. What are you bringing to the table? This is not the kind of conversation we're going to be having here, right? So my main intention is to make people, especially
science,
people who don't speak the language, people who are bringing in a perspective that is radically different, an opinion that's radically different from the conversation we're having.
Atheist hypnosis is symptomatic of depression, anger, etc.
And my interlocutor to connect and to understand where we're at, where we're going, what to steel man each other. And then we can move on.
Hypnosis is symptomatic of depression,
that I
anger,
moderate, that come in to drill
science
others,
is all about God.
they don't have this impetus.
Trauma.
And this is why I've decided, you know what, I'm gonna, my patience with people whom I have had these experiences with is very low. I'm always gonna, people who are new to the room, who I can give a chance to, who I have had conversations and who disagree with me radically, but we can connect on that level, and I can push myself to do that. I'll welcome. But like you said, Steve, the experiences I've had with these people have been quite uncomfortable, to say the least, and I'm not willing to entertain that anymore.
Which is fine with me. We're coming up on the break.
Be light in your brain.
And
Go with
then
your thoughts.
I know that Jane, pardon me,
Meditate and be at peace.
Benjamin wants his fresh 5 if he's So we'll come back from the break and we'll do Dr. James first, and then Benjamin.
But I want
Let
a
me
fresh 5 too, Steve, buddy.
Oh, Creekside, it's good to see you. I'm glad you made it on stage. Okay, we'll go, Doctor. We'll take the break, and thank you for coming on stage. We'll do Dr. James and Creekside, and then Benjamin Muds. If I forget, please remember that's the. Let me give my 60 seconds on Rascal, which is different, obviously, than Alfonso's issues. Rascal, when it comes to knowledge and intelligence of philosophy, he can run circles around me. No question about it. When it comes to other topics and fields of study, he can run circles around me. And Rascal has never been insulting to me. The only problem that I have with Rascal is an impulse control problem, which is not rare. I mean, replays are on. We heard him interrupt 5 times in a 90-second period. I heard him interrupt 3 times in a 30-second period. That's the only problem that I have with Rascal. And for other people, I wouldn't give them 6 times and 3 times and have to tell them almost 10 times to stay on mute. I would just dump them. But I like Rascal. I respect Rascal for his knowledge. He's never been insulting to me, at least from what I've heard. But for me, the only problem I have is the impulse control problem, which is clearly a problem. That being said, thank you very much for joining us on Ask the Atheist. 3 hours in the tank. Wow, it's been good stuff. Thank you, John, Alfonso, Cora, Scott, for doing the heavy lifting. Again, Dr. James, and then Creekside, and then we'll go back to Benjamin. Yeah,
Steve,
he wanted
5
to.
seconds.
Yeah, 5 seconds. Take 10. Go ahead.
They're telling me I'm painting myself as better than others, and I think I've never, ever considered that someone is better than someone else. I
wouldn't even look at the chat. In fact, most of the time I don't. You know what? I know and I get it. Your show is different than mine.
Genocide is a great trick and trigger of God
to
to make
read
you
all
angry.
that stuff in the chat.
Like
Don't
God
bother.
Uncle,
I like them that they're here.
Uncle Steve, can I say for the record, I think Alfonso is better than me, just for the record.
Well, in ways he's better than me too. In ways he's better than a lot of people. And there's no question about that.
Let me quickly, just 5, 10 seconds.
Sure. Because we're overdue for the break. We're overdue for the break.
Yeah. There's no better or worse. If a psychopath was taken to a war zone where he enjoys killing, for the purposes of that war, he might be better than the rest, right? But put him in the middle of the city, and he's worse. So these comments of making each other feel like we're better or worse, to me they fall on barren ground, right? I don't think what I'm trying to convey basically is, call it culture, call it opinion. I just run my rooms different, and the way I engage with people is different, right? I'm not trying to paint myself. If I was, right, I would probably push myself to further limits and to, be like, smoochy with all these people. But the culture that they bring into the room is insults, it's ad hominems, it's really...
Are you sure you don't want a fresh 5 in hour number 4?
No, I'll leave it there. I think I've said enough.
Thank you.
It's just such a long history that it triggers me.
And I understand, and for you it's uncomfortable, but you run your rooms your way, I run my rooms my way. I love the community in the audience. Just keep it respectful. The break song is by request. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Christians have their hymns and pages, Hannah Nagila.
Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday.
That she can take me in my car to go pick up one of the golf carts. Because Mommy had too much fun last night. If you ever see people that have like coastal living shirts on, or believe me, it's a whole different level, coastal living, because nowadays it's not just hurricanes. It is hurricanes, mudslides, tornadoes, and just fun. Whole bunch of fun. But we do, Wesley, and Adams and T. Yeah, Jazzy and I have a storm coming almost directly at us. It'll go straight across if it stays on direction.
Even NPR's report. This is from NPR. Hurricane Helene survivors abandoned by Harris-Biden regime, and they won't be able to vote. While there will be lip service paid to ensuring everyone impacted by the hurricane will be able to vote, the reality is that FEMA's utter failure ensures that the electoral impact of the region will be blunted, creating a perverse incentive to delay aid to victims.
Do you think they're using this as a ploy to push out Election Day?
Well, I mean, I'm kind of weird about it. I think that the government's 30 years advanced technology that they haven't revealed includes the ability to manipulate weather. And I think that the reason that they would do something like this, withhold aid from a storm they created, is multifaceted benefits. They're going to get to buy that land with the lithium or cobalt or whatever metal. They're going to get to impact the voters. They're going to get to impact the election by sending out the mail-in or whatever. Yeah, I think it's there's a lot of different dimensions to it that are beneficial to the bad guys, and the whole time people get to suffer and babies go without formula.
Hello. I got all the way to work to be told to go back home. There's no fucking internet.
Yeah, you're welcome. It took me a week to figure out how to get the internet turned off at your work so we could hang out with you today.
Well, I have an appointment at 11, so I'm just kind of walking around the neighborhood at this point, just waiting because there's no fucking internet in the building. Like, this is crazy. Like, I can't even believe that this is... It was something that, for like, from what I understand, somebody at our corporate office canceled the internet account as a result of, like, I guess they're doing some type of, like, rebranding, and they're changing, like, the business entity name that sits underneath this particular building. So in the process of doing that, somebody had a stroke of genius and decided that there was a necessity to then go and shut down our utility services in the building. They didn't think about any work they needed to get done. They didn't think about any type of replacement account to actually be set up. So that's what they're running into right now, from what I understand.
Well, here's what you do. We'll take a lesson from our friends on the left. You donate $5 to the Help Helene Hurricane Victims North Carolina. You call Starlink. You let them know that your rescue effort.
No, because it's too hard for me.
Well, you already bought the ticket. Then don't.
That's it. Army Boy reference. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I could tell you knew where I was going.
What do you mean I already bought the ticket, so I have to go? I could just...
No. That you already contributed. Oh, true. That you already contributed. You don't need to consume it.
Yeah, just give them to a random boy and make them feel guilty if they don't go.
I mean, it's tough. It's a tough documentary, but it's not really like it's. I don't know. Like I have seen this other sort of documentary where it's super graphic, and I only was able to watch like 3 minutes, and I couldn't. It's too gory, of the things that they actually did. But in this documentary, well, they blur a lot of things, and they don't really show the exact violence, so it is watchable.
So, like, I'm just, like, reliving that time, and Jake, before we knew that he was murdered, like, he was missing, so me and a few other people consumed a lot of the raw footage on Telegram, trying to see if we could find him, like, see if we could see.
So,
Things change, man.
as soon as this funny guy comes in, SpongeBob
Those
comes
were the
in.
old days when you used to.
Yeah, he gets like some extra power.
Young days for your.
And on his own, he's fine. He's fine.
Tell me, come on, man.
Well, when you have this F-Talk...
Dude, Evatol is your oldest friend on this app. I'm telling you.
I'm willing to help you go straight. Stop fighting within the group. I'm the one who always says, let's block JR for a while. The other guy said, keep JR. They like JR. So everyone blocked and unblocked quickly. It just says a little slap on the wrist.
We gotta bring...
Actually, that is true. Evatol doesn't keep grudges for a long time.
Not like Little Den where you all had your conflict.
We never...
No, we didn't have we never had a fight at all. Maybe JR and HK had, but HK, and JR, we didn't have a fight.
No, it was a meeting. I already got the information from the people.
He destroyed... Evatol destroyed Little Den, actually.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't.
He went to war.
It is still there.
I had to meet the Indian Bachelor room.
How did it get destroyed?
Listen, I don't
when HK, myself, and JR still good friends, and JR, you still are there in the loop. How did it get destroyed? No, it didn't.
Where are the rooms? We used to have decent conversations.
There's no movement, no rooms.
We used to have decent conversations about politics.
Dude, because they are both the app.
This guy's an animal.
The discussion group is crap.
You're just fucking going.
JR, we had rooms all of last year, every morning and evening. Okay, all of us have gotten tired of hosting rooms. That's why we do not host rooms anymore. HK doesn't, and dude, it was not a failed group. It is amazing group.
This is what he does all the time.
It's the definition of the extinguishing.
A man is known by the company he keeps. He keeps
pushing the extinction of a group. There was a good group.
Dude.
You have a really bad reputation.
No, it is still there.
It's no longer.
No, it is still there.
100%. HK is just
it's
there.
Still there. What are you saying?
You guys don't get together and don't do anything.
Dude, I talk to HK all the time. I talk to him all the time. Okay, I talk to Jay all the time.
I talk to
your group is not even supportive. Yeah, your group is not supportive.
Dude, HK is my oldest. Evatol, I tell you what.
Has a new career on Twitter. Storm, I hate to break it to you. HK has a new career on Twitter. You're not there with the new group. Remember?
Dude, that is fine. All that is fine. HK is my oldest friend on this app. One of the oldest friends. And the dynamic is actually pretty cool. Okay.
You guys are just personal friends. Leave that. The group Little Den is defunct now.
there you go. Always something or the other. Right?
HK is like the star singer. You know, like the Beatles. Paul McCartney went along. He went and became solo. That's what's
You're all
happening.
about control, man. That's what you want.
Used to be a band. Now it's a solo act called HK and Bharat, like Simon and Garfunkel. And everyone else is
you got into a fight with Ford.
He's moved along and said, "Who's
there's not a
represent my client Israel, and you represent yourself. Why don't you give me your demands, your requirements, what we need to come to some kind of an agreement?" They lost their minds because now you're asking them material things. And they want to talk about the genocide, and they want to talk about how many babies have died, and they don't actually have a plan. They don't know what they want. They don't want to continue to be an outrage and pearl clutching and the victimization. And you realize this has nothing to do with any of this. This is, and they said, well, why don't I understand? You come in here trying to broker a deal, a lawyer. Because all of you Jews are lawyers and whatever.
Oh my God.
Right. And so I said, look, this to me looks like a landlord-tenant dispute. Okay? This is what we call it. This is what we have in property law. This is what I do. So I'm not just asking you, what would you like to see happen in terms of you going to your own nation state? You having your own, isn't this what you want? You want Palestine, don't you? It doesn't exist now, but you like to, not that you've ever succeeded in that, but how do you plan on doing this? It's like the teenager, teenagers, they go, I want my own life. I want to do what I want. I don't care what you say. Okay, I'm leaving. Sure. They're still standing there, eating your food, living in your house, and whining. And they hate you, right? It's exactly the same thing here. I'll do what I want. I don't care what you say. So then when you get deeper into the matter of it, then you realize all they want to talk about is the Jews, what the Zionists have done. Don't you think this is wrong? Don't you think the Zionists... I was like, we're not talking about them. We're talking about you. Forget them. It's about you. What do you want? Do you want them to just pack up and leave? Maybe I should just give you Israel proper, all of their borders. They don't have the wherewithal or the argument to state their case. They don't have a case.
Hey, Cherry.
Yeah.
Would it matter if I answer? Or
Sure, you can answer.
First of all, thank you, the moderators, for letting me speak. Second,
Hey, Majnu, before you answer though, are you Palestinian?
What was
no,
that
I was just going to say I'm not even Palestinian. But
city
my thoughts on
encampment that they built? What was it, in Washington? The state of Washington?
You're talking about SCAD?
In Seattle?
Yeah, Seattle.
Maybe Seth cannot hear Majnu.
Yeah, Majnu's not talking very loud. Go ahead, Majnu.
Sorry about that.
You guys hear me?
Yeah. Well, very, very quietly. If you can yell a little bit, that would be amazing.
Alright, is that better?
Oh,
Much
yeah,
better.
much better.
Now I can hear you.
Alright, how you guys all doing?
We're always...
I'm fantastic.
Fantastic, good to hear. So, Cherry, your question. I'm not Palestinian. I have a couple Palestinian friends, not very close. But I would just like to get everyone's thoughts on this. So basically, what I think...
You're a Muslim.
Good. I am Muslim.
Okay.
So basically, what I would think would be a good solution is a two-state solution. Like you see, I'm Pakistani, and when I read my country's history, basically it was like a similar situation where it was like a religious war. Muslims were like, oh, Hindus are bad, Hindus are like Muslim, and there was killing and stuff like that. Not to this much level, but there was. So a two-state solution, I feel like, would be good. You split the land, half is Arab, half is Palestinian. They can do whatever they want. They can get help from whatever they want. And half
That sounds... Mayor, come on. Quick question. How many people died in the partition, and how many were ethnically cleansed from each country of India?
Well, there was different massacres. So there was one where the Sikhs got involved and they killed a lot of people. while they were doing, while they were transporting to a different country.
I'm just looking
I
for
don't have the
numbers.
exact numbers.
I'm just looking for
I'll
numbers.
have that.
Okay.
I apologize.
I mean, would you, because you said not to this level, but somehow implying that Israel, this conflict in Israel has been worse than the partition of India. Do you have any idea how many people were how big the population transfer was from one country to the other?
Let's see.
There were Hindus that left Pakistan, and there were to go to India, and there were Indians who left India to go to Pakistan.
Right. Yeah.
There were also 2,500 Jews in Lahore that had their synagogue burned down twice as soon as Pakistan got built, created. But anyways, how many people?
I would say anywhere from 15 to 18 million.
Yeah, it's probably a fair number. So, I think you have to keep in mind that, like, when you're doing any kind of comparison, which I think is a valid comparison, the scale of misery that the partition of India and Pakistan created at the time still far exceeds the misery, destruction, and death that came out of the partition of Israel.
Right.
And also, you should also keep in mind that Pakistan not only sent units to fight Israel on its independence, but also sent units to Jordan specifically to kill 30,000 Palestinians.
Right.
So go ahead.
Yeah,
now I'll answer your question now.
Freedom of movement and no borders and all of that and things like that, those ideas work well when people are not trying to kill you. But if you are suffering every day from your neighbor trying to kill you, why would you not want to have a wall between the two of you? It's absurd.
Yeah, I think two-state solution though is a great idea. It's just not possible right now.
Yeah.
Or
not a thing.
I don't want Israel ruling over.
I remember when I wanted it, Jeff. I remember the days when we wanted a two-state, but that's like long gone.
I want it. I don't think it's possible.
But Majnu, but you completely missed the point of what Sherry was saying, because you can read your country's history and look at how Pakistan wanted a country, how they fought for a country. It was orders of magnitude more carnage than what's going on in Israel today, again, Jeff has pointed out. But her entire point was, it's very easy for you to say, like, let's do a Pakistan, but find me the Palestinian government in exile. Find me a group that wants a government. Find me the group of Palestinians that actually want a solution, and you'll get to the point of what she's saying. So bringing in another conflict is like you really missed the point, totally.
Right. Well, I was just saying, why don't organizations like the UN or something just sets up a government for a country like Palestine, like Palestine?
Nah.
Because organizations like the UN,
a government.
It's not how it works. UNRWA come up with
because the organizations like
one
the
at a
UN,
time, people. One at a time.
No, forget all the problems with the UN. We all know the problems with the UN. You cannot create a government out of whole air. What the UN could possibly do, if it ever wanted to actually make peace, is take a conflict and make peace out of it. But like the Iranians are trying to make a separate government. One day, hopefully, they'll get independence. That's what a government in exile looks like. They argue over what type of government. They argue over who will be in charge. They have someone running around the diaspora saying like he's the heir to the throne, or if he wants it or not. But there's actually like a talk of an independent movement. There's no talk on the Palestinian side, none. So the UN cannot create that. That was the mistake of Oslo. You can't make that. That has to happen. And then we can move to the next step.
Right. So what do you guys think would be like a good solution?
Can I tell you? Honestly, I think how many Palestinians are we talking about? Because what he just said about Iranians, we're 82 million people, right? We have a large geographical territory. It's always been our country. We've never had any kind of occupation. We've never been colonized like Lebanon. But let me ask you this: how many Palestinians are there? I'm just asking. Well, give or take.
So give or take 5 to 7 million.
Okay, 5 to 7 million can very easily emigrate to various countries and become citizens of other countries. There's absolutely no reason that they need to have a nation state. I really believe that. I think they would be much happier. They already are in communities all over the world. In order to make this go away, in all honesty, and if they want to have a good life and they want to progress, I really do believe that many of them can very easily, I'm not talking about the Hamas-minded ones, they can live in Israel, exactly. There's 2 million Jews living in, Arabs living, in Israel already.
Right.
Okay, they're living.
Just absorb the country and that's
absorb the country. We're talking about 5 to 7 million. Seriously? All of this for that. But you see, this is where it is. It has nothing to do with finding a workable solution. We can broker a deal for you, for fuck's sake. But the thing is, they don't want that.
But the
they
reason,
want
Terry, is
Israel
because
to go away.
they are not looking to, they are not thinking about living. Living a life. They're not thinking about prosperity. All they want is Jews to be gone. That's it. That's it. It doesn't matter what they're going to do with the land. It doesn't matter anything else. They just don't want the Jews there.
And if I had not heard it, I wouldn't have believed it.
Maju, let me ask you another question. In the Syrian conflict that's gone on over the last 10, 15 years, how many people have fled Syria and have not done?
A lot. Big number.
What's the number? Yes. I can appreciate you don't know and you've never actually thought about this, but what do you think?
I'd say more than what? How many people are in Palestine?
Well, I mean that's yes. I mean clearly it's more. It's probably somewhere around 15 million people that are living as refugees or have immigrated elsewhere. I don't hear Muslims going to the UN demanding Syria create conditions to get them back.
Yeah, really.
So, like the kind of the crocodile tears about Palestinians, after 78 years of them insisting on conflict, leaving. The only difference between what's going on there and what's going on in Syria is it happens to be there are Jews involved.
Right.
Like there's a tremendous amount of hypocrisy and frankly a lack of concern for Muslims around the world by Muslims.
Yeah.
It's really quite sad. But to answer your question, I think the best thing that could lead to a positive outcome would be for every Muslim country to normalize its relations with Israel. Because, well,
that's just my opinion. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. But normalize. There's an inherent problem with the UN, which you're right should be equipped to broker a resolution, and that is that there's 57 Muslim countries who vote as a bloc against Israel.
And they suck.
And that unfortunately causes the UN to be not an honest broker, and it prolongs and enhances the conflict.
So do you think the United States should offer help and get allow the refugees if the Palestinians decide to?
If you
I don't want those people.
Instead of asked questions, you would have figured out that we were doing all of this stuff and then some. We were giving food. We were helping refugees.
No, he's asking should Palestinians be allowed to move to America?
No.
Oh,
Can I add something?
Hell no.
Why is that?
They
Why
shut
do
down
you want
America in
Palestinians
the
moving
streets.
to America?
They burn our flags. Why do they want to come here?
They're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs.
Or any other Western country, for that matter, have to want Palestinians in. Like, none of the 50-something Muslim states want them in. So why don't you open the doors, the Muslim states, for the Palestinians? They don't want them.
To Palestine, Ohio.
Fuck no.
Yeah.
No, they're eating the cats. They're eating the dogs.
They're eating the dogs.
Seriously though, not serious, but I think they should all go to Chinese Kashmir.
No, don't send them to Guatemala.
Uganda
Uganda doesn't want them.
I'm just saying what I've been singing since the beginning of the war. Go back to where you were.
So, Majnu, your question again starts with a double standard. And I can appreciate you just asking a question, but it starts with a double standard. How many Muslim countries are willing to take Palestinians?
I don't know if that's been put into place because the Palestinians never asked to leave.
No.
There are
Andrew,
reports on it.
Are you familiar with the tribal last names of many of these people?
Thank you. I'm not.
No, Yakov, that's a totally different conversation.
Okay, well,
We're
we
not
were
there.
talking about
It's
where they
about-
came from. That's.
No, we weren't talking about where they came from.
Oh, I
You misheard.
heard that.
I did that.
It's more important where they are right now. And the Palestinians in the West Bank, for instance, even if the Palestinian Authority exists and you give them the opportunity to create a two-state solution, there is an embedment in the society of Hamas. Hamas exists in Jenin and Nablus and all these places right now.
Yeah, and we're
It's
bombing
impossible.
Jenin
And we're
too.
pumping, and we're yeah. Thank you.
Well, we're not bombing Jenin, but we're going in there and we're fighting terrorists on a daily basis.
Actually, the IDF bombed the West Bank for the first time since the Second Intifada. So yeah, we're bombing Jenin.
But love don't.
I'm sorry, I used it as an example of.
My point is,
terrorism.
that even though the idea of a two-state solution is something they want, they don't want a two-state solution. They want to have the rights as they do in Israel. They just want to have a passport that says Palestine.
They want to have more rights than anybody in Israel does.
They just don't want. I mean, they're pretty. They're not sugarcoating it. They want all of Israel. They want to replace it with Palestine and have the Jews pushed out to the sea. They don't want us there. That's exactly. They're very
They say they want their cake and eat it too.
Yeah, they're very open about what they want. I mean, we should start listening to them.
Like
They
Iran.
don't want to be
Exactly, and when I
Just like
asked them,
Iran.
they said,
Iran
we
doesn't
want
want us.
Israel. So you can tell me this because I don't know enough. What does it mean when they say we want Israel to go back to the 67 borders?
All of
and I've looked at that, right? But is there another meaning to that,
Yes,
or is there like
the meaning is it's a temporary stopgap measure. We'll recognize the state of Israel, but eventually we'll reclaim it all. It's a stopgap. It's temporary. It's not the final end point. I'm not using the word solution. It's the final. I had to pick my word carefully. It's a temporary midpoint that's acceptable to the West until they achieve their final goal, which is the eradication and the reclamation of all. If you look at,
I feel like we're lecturing Majnu instead of having a conversation.
And
I was answering. No, I know, but this has gotten like 8 people have kind of given their own opinion of why Palestinians are terrible, and we can all agree, or however we want to put it.
I didn't say anything about Palestinians. I'm talking about.
I said people. You're a woman.
Excuse you.
Yes, you don't count. It's okay.
Yeah, you don't count. You don't count a minion.
Sorry, I was making the sandwiches. I couldn't hear properly.
I have to go and start cleaning the house.
The first problem starts.
Get back in the kitchen.
The first problem starts when we.
Jerry, you're from Iran. Iran, men and women are completely equal. So you.
No, in my country, my life is worth half. Well, but I should make the there's a disclaimer. I was born in a monarchy. Okay, I wasn't born in this Islamic regime.
Egyptian is here.
I was 1 year before 78. So yeah, I don't really.
Mazri, come up.
Wouldn't it be amazing? Wouldn't it be amazing if these
and I
would be
still
an
have my
opportunity?
passport from that time where it had the monarch seal and everything. Those things are worth a lot. My mom and dad kept them.
What were you saying, Issa?
Wouldn't it be amazing if this opportunity was taken in order to to turn Iran around again and just get the whole Islam regime from it? Imagine it would be the first case study for a country to go back from Islam.
Mika, make Iran great again.
I mean, after all, country to fall.
No, it's actually making Iran Jewish.
Oh, I love it.
No, Christian.
Why Christian?
Yeah, what Christian?
They were Christian, just as Lebanon.
No, they weren't. Not Iran.
They were like 1%.
Yeah.
What about the Anunnaki?
Okay, now that we're going down this road. Madhu. Hold on, Madhu, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, last thing you said to me before we went off-roading was they don't, because no plan to deal with refugees has existed. So first of all, Palestinians have been accepted in several countries. Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, Kuwait, and I believe Egypt. All but Jordan actually expelled all of them because they very quickly attempted to overthrow the governments. So they won't. But notwithstanding that, tell me, as a Muslim or as a Muslim nation, don't you feel that you have or you would have a responsibility to accept people who want to flee a war zone?
No, I believe we would, but also, I know someone brought it up. I don't know who it was, but I know you guys said we could absorb in Israel. One big reason why they would want to do that rather than moving, or why they're not choosing to move away, some of them, is because Israel has Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is the second holiest or third holiest place for Muslims. So they don't want to lose being near that. Like me as a Muslim, I want to go to Israel and I want to visit the Al-Aqsa Mosque. And I know people that do that too because it's a holy place. So do you think if the Palestinians in the near future...
Yeah, so Majnu, first of all, if you do a little research, you will discover the idea that Al-Aqsa Mosque is the Al-Aqsa from the Quran. That whole idea didn't start until the 1870s. Unironically, actually, right around the same time that Zionism started putting people, having people go to Israel, at least in numbers. It was actually a response to Zionism to misappropriate the furthest mosque, which was about 15 miles outside of Mecca. Prior to that was the understanding.
By the way, I just want to say something really quick.
No, how about you don't interrupt me? Like, I know you're a friend of the show, but I have no idea why you think you're going to interrupt me right now. What was I saying?
You were going about
Majnu. Now, even if you take the idea that it's the third holiest location in Islam, it is the single holiest location of Judaism. And people can want to live near the holiest place in Judaism all they want, but they have to stop trying to kill Jews.
Right.
Like, that's the point, like, we're missing here. For 78 years, the stated goal was to eliminate the state of Israel, which means eliminate the state of Israelis' access to our holiest spot, which, by the way, we were unable to access freely for the last 1,000 years approximately under Islamic rule. So, yeah.
Why is it so difficult
I think the ship has sailed a little bit here. And now, Theus, go ahead. What the hell was so important that you did?
It's me, Moonshine, and I was trying to just say, Jeff, that the thing that you said specifically, and I didn't know you were continuing to talk. I thought you'd finished. Didn't mean to interrupt you. But here's what it is. You mentioned about Syria and Lebanon, like, allowing tons of Palestinian refugees in. Yeah, but there's something with it. With Lebanon, they didn't really want to take in so many refugees. They ended up having them, and the first time they had Palestinians there was a whole war that broke out. It was the Lebanese Civil War. One of the reasons was the PLO started attacking Lebanon. They're not even, like, big fans of letting them in. And in Syria, we can't afford to let any more people in. We can't get involved in this war that much because we're already trying to fix the country after being through a civil war ourselves. Here's the thing, like, the only reason we actually even, like, most of those countries, like, most Lebanese people or even Syrians, like that, even actually support Palestine is because we can't handle having more immigration into our countries from there.
I know this dude. Like, you should take him off the stage. Like, he's fucking running on another bot name, for sure.
A bot name?
Yeah, I know this dude, too. He finally turned 18. He's
fucking A, Jeff.
No, I mean, that's fine. You're representing Syrian and Lebanese interests, and basically repeating what I said, that wherever the Palestinians went, they tried to overthrow the government. The Lebanese civil war was largely...
in Jordan and Lebanon, yeah. In Syria, not as much.
Also Kuwait. It also happened in... Which I
Did they try to start a civil war in Kuwait, or they just, like, back the invading powers, which was pretty dumb?
Well,
Why do you think it is?
What's the difference?
No, just
Why do
clarity.
you think it is so difficult? Why do you think it is so difficult to to stop killing Jews? Why is it so difficult about it? It's just like, you don't have to kill them. That's it. Just one rule.
I have a question. I'm sorry. And that's a very good question, Lisa. I don't think there's a direct answer for it. I think it's a byproduct of their main goal. But I want to ask Majnu, how old are you?
19.
Oh, 19?
Right.
And 19, and the first thing that comes to your mind when you talk about, your life and emigrating is which mosque you have to go to, and which mosques are available to you in that country?
Well, not just which mosque. It's in the book, and as a Muslim, if you believe in that, there's certain, like, if there's a church that's really important in Christianity, any Christian would want to be around that church. Just
No,
spiritual.
most kids your age wouldn't be caught dead in a church. They either go to funerals or weddings. And I'm just saying, from someone who has teenagers,
Right.
I'm always very surprised, and this isn't meant to be offensive to you, but we're very surprised when we find people your age that, have this kind of, ties to the mosques and so forth, and that's the first thing they ask. I mean, they might ask, what kind of colleges are there, what kind of nightlife is there, what kind of social life, The first thing you asked was the mosque.
Right.
And that.
I know a lot of teenagers who are religious. A lot of my friends are. I'm religious. And I'm only 18.
Well, to answer your question, basically, it's not like I'm religious or not. I mean, I know myself, I'm not the most religious person. I know a lot more people that are, but it's just the value it holds. Like, in the book that we read as a I grew up in Pakistan, so I've seen both sides. The book I wrote, the book I read, the Quran, in both languages, mine and English. It's just that, the amount of value that plays. If it was just a random.
Hold on, you read the Quran in English and in Urdu?
English and in Urdu, and then in Arabic originally, but the translations were in English and Urdu.
Okay, but your Arabic's not great.
No, I can only read and write. Honestly.
Gotcha. Okay.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, the amount of value that plays. What happened?
Well, you already been explained that that's a new phenomenon, because the furthest mosque was always right outside the city of Mecca, which makes more sense to make there on a nightly ride.
Right. Well, there's a few mosques that hold a lot of value, and Al-Aqsa is one of them. That's why I said I don't know if it's a second.
Yes.
Yeah, but Majnu, ask yourself the question: why does it hold value?
Because it's in the book. There's a whole history on it.
Again, let's just take for granted that we're giving you information you haven't been exposed to. Prior to the 1880s, that was not identified as the one in the book. But even if it was, why is that place special?
Because there is a whole history on it, which I don't remember on top of my head.
You know what underneath it?
Yes, my Torah portion is like there, dude. Torah.
Can you let Jeff explain what's underneath Al-Aqsa?
Yeah. Majnu, do you know what's underneath Al-Aqsa?
I don't. I would love to hear it.
Okay. Do you know about what the Holy Temple is for the Jews?
Yeah.
Do you know where it is?
Is it under it or near the Al-Aqsa?
Yeah, they built that mosque after the death of Muhammad on top of our holiest spot. So unless Muhammad was a time traveler, or the construction crew went back in time, like, that mosque is not the site of that is mentioned in the Quran. It's remarkable that with 2 billion Muslims, so few are able to do the critical thinking involved to understand that mosque wasn't even there.
Right. I got it.
So Jeff is the King Solomon's temple.
Explain the rock inside the dome.
I don't know anything about that rock. It's an asteroid.
Oh?
Oh, is that the altar? That's the altar.
No,
Okay, yeah, that's the
where
altar.
somebody took their son and it was about
Oh,
to sacrifice him, but God
Well, yeah. Go ahead.
stopped him.
I'm not
That
an
was
expert
my
on that.
Torah portion, bro.
Oh.
So when I see that rock, I know what it means. You know, like
Have you heard of Ibrahim?
Yeah.
Peace be upon him.
And the sun. Yep.
Yeah. So the rock that's in that mosque is believed to be the rock that his son lay down on, so his father could circumcise.
Yep. Yeah, because I mean, as long as I remember, the whole point of building the mosque was just
Torah. That was in the Torah, not the Quran. That was in the Torah.
What I read and what I've been taught is the whole point of the mosque was not the rock. The mosque was just to, it was a prophet that we have, Muhammad. He ascended to heaven for a night, and to the memory of him, that mosque was built.
I mean that's fine to teach. It's just the mosque wasn't there.
It's just like it was our rock. It was our holy temple. And you put a mosque on top of it. Cute. But
what's the rock's value in like your religion? I mean, I would love to know. I haven't really had to.
Godmother knows what I mean when I say that's cute. Yeah.
I don't know what to say, Margina. I'm so stunned. At your age, I was thinking,
All right.
It's not uncommon though. It's not uncommon, and let's not continue to like he's coming, I think, in good faith and asking questions and listening to the answers.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm actually curious. I just like to hear both sides.
Noticing that. We would have noticed the troll alert a while ago. So.
no, I don't think he's troll.
No, he's not.
I think he's for sure serious, this kid. For sure.
What are your goals? Can I just ask that? Like, what are your goals? Like,
I think, Jerry, I mean, respectfully, I think his goal is to ask questions and have a conversation. I don't think we need to, we don't need to do that. I'm happy to answer questions to someone who is interested in the answers.
That's why I'm trying.
And he seems to be that.
So he asked, what did he ask? What's the question?
The last, I was just responding to
Significance
hidden.
The rock. Of the dome.
The rock,
right.
Dome of the rock. The rock. Yeah. So the rock would represent the entirety of the covenant between Abraham and God. Like that is the site at which that first covenant was made with Abraham, who is considered to be the father of our.
Yeah, he said for me to believe in you, I want you to take your son and sacrifice him on this rock. And an angel from God stopped him and said, because you believed and you were about to do it, you do not need to kill your son. And it's in the Torah. That was my
the Islamic thing
portion
of
that I read.
Yeah. So basically, the Islamic belief that we have about that story is as soon as he was about to move the knife to sacrifice his son, the angel swapped, or God swapped the son with an animal. That's why the whole tradition, if you guys know, of Muslims, once a year sacrificing animal cows and stuff, and parting it out. That's how that tradition.
We originally used to sacrifice stuff there too. It's the first, second temple. But
right.
I got you. See, that's what you
learned.
That's what you learned. I got.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I'm just asking questions. Like, I work in sales and I meet people from Israel all the time.
That's why I'm trying to.
And, I always have this conversation. Yeah, because what response I get in person, in real life, face to face, is basically a person from Israel telling me, like, we don't want people to die. We just want, like, a normal solution to be figured out. And, that's basically what I'm hearing here, too. So, I'm glad I'm learning more. So if I'm ever put into a situation where I have to speak, I know what are the right things to say and the right answers.
Majnu, do you know what the Quran calls? I'm sorry, not the Quran. Do you know what the Temple Mount is called in Arabic? That area that mosque is built on. It's called the Beit al Maqdis.
Yeah, Beit al Maqdis. Yeah.
You know what that means in Arabic?
No, honestly.
Doesn't mean anything in Arabic. It's Hebrew. It's the Beit HaMikdash.
Right. It means like the holy house.
That's what I'm.
Exactly.
Okay. And that's you said that's not an Arabic word. That's a Hebrew.
It's Hebrew.
Okay.
Yeah, Beit HaMikdash is.
Also, our four, like, in that region, like, in Judea and Samaria and the West Bank, like, the tombs of, like, our forefathers and our
Why would it be
buried
called
there.
Judea? I'm just throwing that out.
Well, in fairness, he probably has never heard that land is actually called.
Yeah, I
Judea.
get that part. That I get. But it was Judea and Samaria.
Yeah, I mean, the area where the temple is actually historically has always been called Judea, and that's where the Jews get their name. I think so.
I love
Also-
how the Diddy party in the chat is telling us we're not real Jews because he's an Orthodox Jew. Why don't you go back to your Diddy party, and bring enough baby oil for yourself, you fucking did.
Make sure your make sure the baby oil is kosher though, because you're an Orthodox Jew.
Yeah, and make sure Meek Mill's there because you love to kiss him. Yeah.
What's up, buddy?
Jeff, I have another question.
Yeah.
So also I heard this somewhere. I didn't get the chance to research about it. But is there also a thing that you guys would want to build your third or the temple that was destroyed again, like rebuild it on where Al-Aqsa is?
No, it wouldn't be where Al-Aqsa is.
It wouldn't. So you guys wouldn't want to destroy Al-Aqsa and rebuild the temple?
I mean, I'd love to destroy Al-Aqsa.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Personally, but I believe, and maybe someone knows better than me, but I believe the spot where Al-Aqsa is isn't actually where the temple is supposed to be on the map. So, but like, you know, Jews have a long history of destroying mosques in Majnu. You know that, right?
Right.
No, I'm kidding. We don't destroy mosques. But I can tell you, I can tell you that in fact in Israel they actually pay the bills of 400 mosques, including paying the imams.
Wasn't it like in Gaza,
like Jews don't have a history of hostility to other religions,
right?
You know, the way like I pointed out the community in Lahore, it was called Masjid Al Yahud. They burned it down twice in 6 months. They burned it down, they rebuilt, they burned it down again, and then all the Jews fled. That's why Pakistan went from being 23% non-Muslim to 3% non-Muslim, because Islam has a habit of oppressing everyone else.
So wait, but there is a narrative though that Israel and Jews ruin and bomb mosques because in recent years, I don't know how common this was always, but in recent years, terrorists have been storing their weapons in mosques. So Israel kind of does bomb those mosques, but because it's used as a weapon depot.
That is recently true. That's a fair point.
So that's where that narrative comes from. It's like, yeah, Israel does bomb the mosque, but there's weapons that are stored there to kill Jews. So
all the time. But we usually, when we find that there's a mosque in Gaza that holds them, we don't destroy the mosque, but we raid the shit out of it so that we can take it over. I've seen videos of us inside mosques and turning it back into synagogues or something.
I mean, we've blown up plenty of
probably blown up a bunch of mosques too. But I'm gonna say
I don't think a mosque would ever into a synagogue, unless you want to consider that the Tomb of the Patriarchs a mosque.
So what? But it was also.
Yeah, I think it's feeding into like the conspiracy theory that we're trying to colonize them, saying that we're converting them into synagogues. I don't believe that.
It's also not true.
If anybody's a colonizer, it's the Muslims.
Oh, forget the story. Find me one that it had. Find a mosque that has been converted into a synagogue. It's just not a thing that happens.
Well, the Tomb of the Patriarch is an example, but even that we
share with them.
But even the Al-Aqsa Mosque is protected and prevented for Israelis to go up there.
Now Israelis could go up there.
But it's under the control of the Jordanian Waqf.
It is under the control of the Waqf, but it's been about 2 years now that Israelis can go up there.
Under supervision now.
Yeah, they're not allowed to stop and pray.
They're just allowed to transpose.
Kind of like a tourist attraction.
Yeah, it's Disney must for Jews. It's like it's a small world after all, right? For Jews.
Yeah, but no one's gonna tell
I mean,
me if
Muslims can go up there and pray.
If I'm praying under my breath, no one can stop me. Like,
Well, they used to
won't.
be strict there. If you see a lips moving, they would
Muslims
stop
can
you.
go up there as they like. They have complete freedom up on our holiest site. They can go pray. They can throw rocks.
But we can't even go in there. Yeah.
Well, they used to be very strict. They used to be that if you would move your lips, they would stop you, or if you stopped walking on the tour, they would tell you have to keep walking, thinking you might be praying. So they used to actually be very strict.
I'm actually, I just got curious about something. Who's here? Well, Asim seems smart. I'm wondering whether or not, under Islamic law, it's permitted to have weapons in a mosque. I'm guessing it's not permitted.
It's not, but it's nowhere there's.
Well, you threw the Orthodox Jew out of the room.
I didn't throw him out.
What?
Oh, his comments disappeared. I thought you threw him out.
Oh, then maybe Seth threw him out.
Which Orthodox
The
Jew?
Diddy party? Yeah,
the Diddy party.
Which Orthodox Jew?
There was
The
some
Diddy
guy
party.
posing as an Orthodox Jew in the comments, wearing a Diddy outfit. So I just told him to go back to his Diddy party in case, because
Yeah, Ditch, I'm really sorry that you're suffering under the weight of my humor.
It's amazing.
It's very hard.
Thank you. It's making my night awesome.
Technically, they're not called Diddy parties, they're called freak out.
Thank you, David. That's
thank
true.
you for the clarification. Did you expense one of them?
Hey, Majnu, I want to thank you. It's the first time on this app I've talked to a Pakistani this long and not called him a Benchuk.
Yeah, or thrown him out. Really?
Yeah.
I mean, literally.
He should join the house for that.
Yeah, I know that's a very common word.
Very impressive.
Pass around. Yeah. No, I appreciate it. But over like the end of one of my last questions, basically, if the Muslims and the Jews wants to stay in that town near the Al-Aqsa temple,
That's Allah telling him to stop normalizing.
By the way, that town is Jerusalem.
if they
Just for
end
reference,
up
that
staying,
town is Jerusalem.
if they end up staying in that town without fighting, you think Israel should allow the Muslims to live there, worship, and
Majnu, how many Muslims do you think live in Israel as full citizens in peace with freedom of movement?
1.5 million?
It's a little bigger than that, but yeah. I mean, Israel has demonstrated for 78 years that it's completely fine with having peaceful Muslim neighbors. Some of them even serve in the IDF. The issue is the ones, the quote unquote Palestinian ones, don't want to live in peace with their neighbors. They want to kill Jews.
Right.
So,
Also,
but
one more
the
thing.
Israeli Arab Palestinians, they do want to live in peace with their neighbors, and they, as a result, they, can vote and they can go to colleges and they can go to mosques that Israel pays for. They can do anything they want. They go to the beach alongside Jews.
Right. So do you think, because basically what I hear from all the Arab people that I meet having these conversations is they're against Zionism. So I barely hear the word like we want to kill Jews or we want to finish Jews.
It's a synonym, Majnu. It's a synonym. And it's only a synonym that happens in English. If you listen to the speeches of Hezbollah or Hamas, when the news reports translated as Israel, if you listen to the Arabic, what they said was al-Yahud.
Yep, I mean
it's how they cover their anti-Semitism in the West, but in the East, in Arabic, they don't even bother to cover it. They just say the Jews. And what's really disgusting is Western media mistranslates it to hide that fact. I'll never understand why.
Got it.
asking questions. Questions are a good thing, Vishnu.
Yeah, don't worry, I'm thinking.
Yeah, I would much prefer to not have, have to be in war and to live in peace. And if the worst problem we have is not rebuilding the temple, I think 99% of Jews would be fine with that.
Right.
We're used to sharing.
So, the amount of the 5 to 10 million people that are in Palestine right now, what if they demand they can have their own passport if they decide to absorb into Israel? Do you think that should be allowed?
I think the formation of the question probably isn't really correct.
Let's just say I stay in. I'm someone who.
I mean, they effectively have passports.
Work visas. Think about
right,
that.
so those passports should stay, or should they be converted into Israel passports?
Well, the issue is, that whole number of people will not be absorbed into Israel, because Israel is a democracy.
Right.
It does not want to oppress its minorities, and to that end, if you take 7 million Arabs in and make them citizens, then we make ourselves a minority again.
They could have a separate passport, like what the UK does with like Hong Kong back in the day. They would have a separate passport. They wouldn't be UK citizens, but be citizens of the Commonwealth.
I don't think in any case that's happening. It could happen, I guess, with the West Bank, but Gaza's going to need a different solution. Hi, Pearl. Gaza's not even historical Israel, so we really don't want.
Look, they had Jeff. They had 20,000 work visas going before October 7th last year from Gaza. I don't know the number coming from theEst Bank, but to provide them.
No, it's a much bigger number from the West Bank.
I mean, it should.
I want to say it had been 100,000, 150,000, but passports. Fuck, you can't get them passports.
Get them Egyptian passports.
They have to fly through Amman in Jordan from the West Bank, right?
The numbers. Oh, he left. Oh no, he's there. The number of work visas in 2023 was 150,000 total.
From the West Bank, right?
Well, that would be the West Bank and Gaza. Gaza was, I think, about 25,000.
Yeah,
so 125,000 from
the West Bank. Yeah. They don't want passports. When it comes to the end of the day, they don't want that.
Yeah. Majnu, I mean, clearly you were raised mostly in the West, and I think in the West, and
actually
Jews. What's that?
Actually, was raised in the Middle East. Yeah.
No, what part of the Middle East were you raised?
Pakistan.
Oh, that's not the Middle East, dude.
Oh wait, you're right. I was raised in Pakistan, Lahore. So.
Oh, okay, Lahore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm kind of familiar with the whole the mosque you mentioned and the everything.
Well, you should be familiar with your religion.
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, we have this tendency to want to think people want peace.
Right.
And I identify that as Western because the reality is in the East. Yeah. Some people don't. Yeah. So, once you remove the bias that you may have, that both sides ultimately want peace, and it's just a matter of getting there, then you can start to see it for what it is. Israel has offered comprehensive solutions, permanent peace, 7 different times.
Right.
The last time it gave them 99% of the land, and the Palestinians don't have the political ability or will or even desire to have peace.
Yeah, there's not much money in it for them if they have peace.
That'll have another issue. The leaders of the Palestinians have become multi-billionaires over the last 75 years. What's up, Hermes?
Hey, good afternoon,
Well, Jeff, I'm gonna head out. It was actually great having this conversation. I really do respect it.
Okay, I'm glad you came by.
Yeah, of course. I'll be seeing you around. Thank you, everyone.
We're in the house, dude.
Thank you. Come again. Of course.
All right.
Jeff, I had a quick question. I
Uh-huh.
understand that there are 7 different fronts. Is that correct? And winning wars to quote unquote fronts, right? At this current time.
Yeah, 7 did I miss one? I got 6 flags up there. Which one did I miss?
Oh, I don't know. It's truly a question. I didn't know how many there were. I saw it on TikTok. Benjamin was given a talk and he said 7.
Well, maybe they're counting Gaza and the West Bank separately. I don't know. I can only think of 6. Anyone know what the 7th would be? I've also heard the number 7, but I only came up with 6.
Yemen, the Houthis from Yemen.
Yemen's up there.
Oh, I was.
Did I? Huh?
It's Syria, Lebanon, Yemen, Iran. Wait, Syria.
Hold on, let me just go through the flags.
Go through
the Palestinians, the Lebanese, the Syrian, Iraqis. The last one should be Yemen. The second to last one should be Yemen, I think. Let me just see if that's right.
Yemenis.
The Prime Minister Netanyahu said 1 year after Hamas attack, his country is now fighting on 7 fronts, include Hamas in Gaza,